welcome everyone. This is Gurung. I'm a certified LabVIEW architect and a LabVIEW champion as well. I'm calling you from Bangalore, India at the moment. And today, we have a guest all the way from Canada. This is the series on which we invite the LabVIEW personalities and LabVIEW champions, where they will be sharing their experiences, their journey, and how they have been using LabVIEW in their career. How the certification as well as the community impacted their career, and then how they have been evolved, and how their contribution into the community has changed the way we actually look and use the LabVIEW nowadays, and also the user's experience as well. So without further ado, I want to invite LabVIEW champion all the way from Canada, Francois Normandin.
Hi, Ram. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, Francois, you can give your nice introduction, so that where you are from, and a little bit of a premise, how you got into LabVIEW and NI tools and so on.
Yeah, well, much like a big majority of people that come to LabVIEW, I was not going for any computer science degree or anything. I was in engineering and started getting in touch with LabVIEW in 1999. So wow. I started working for the National Research Council in Canada. It's kind of the government entity for research in the country. And I was pretty junior at that time. I came in and they just gave me a book of LabVIEW 4.2, and they said, well, just do the tutorial, and you know, the guy that is you're going to be your supervisor or working with you is on vacation for another week, so start with that, and when he comes back, we'll just get going. So I started installing LabVIEW on my machine and went through the manual, the tutorials, and I fell in love with that language right away. So yeah, that was 1999.
Well, a long time, yeah.
It's already been 20 years. I cannot believe it. Just think
awesome,
about
it. Yeah. Yeah, please continue.
So I was coming from, like I said, an engineering background, and most of what I had done was work in labs and lab setups and do, not real automation at that point. It was pretty much just operate equipments, and so started to work in the ultrasonic field. In the group that I joined at that time, it was about measuring ultrasonic echoes in materials while they were flowing in the extrusion machine. So there was a lot of waveform signal conditioning and measuring envelopes of signals to align them, determine the time between echoes, and so I got to touch the instrumentation. I got to touch the signal processing, and like everyone, just save that to a file. And at that point, I was also starting simulating echoes, and I could not have imagined that I would be able to do that with any text language, where you've got to be, I think, pretty good to do that kind of stuff early on. So. Yeah, it was humble beginnings.
Wow, that's really nice. So when you actually got into more serious kind of application development, you might have been got into touch with companies like JKI or any other companies. So this all happened in Canada itself, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So at that time, well, I've worked in Canada my whole life, except the period that you mentioned that I joined JKI, and that was about 10 years later, 13 years later, actually. And so that little period where I worked in ultrasounds was pretty short, about a year and a half. And then it was that big boom for, you might have heard about companies like Nortel and all that.
Yes, correct.
Lucent and
Lucent Technology,
Yeah. JDS Uniphase. So there was that big boom in Ottawa, a city that is close by, close to Montreal, Canada's capital city, and I had an opportunity to maybe work in the photonics industry. So I quit NRC and well, it didn't pan out with Ottawa, but I got hired in Montreal in a photonics company, a smaller but very vibrant company. And there I started working with, again, simulation. So I was doing translation of MATLAB code into LabVIEW to simulate fiber Bragg gratings, which is a kind of a photonics piece. And after about a year, well, the company went, they closed their R&D center in Montreal. So I started my company with my colleagues, and we continued doing that. And it was all LabVIEW. Basically, I was 3 years into LabVIEw, and I was already, developing a commercial product for simulating fiber Bragg gratings. That felt great.
Wow, that's like you are working with like a very, I think like a very much cutting edge technologies at that time, like mostly scientific research and all this kind of things as well. So like were you the only one, like were more like a solo kind of developer, or like you had like some mentor kind of person, or like your colleagues were also very good in LabVIEW, or how did you approach into the industry?
So that's a very relevant question exactly at that time, because I've got an anecdote on that, and bring me back if I diverge too much about that anecdote with solo developer and team developer. So back then I was kind of a lone developer. I was working with PhDs in physics, and so they knew about LabVIEW, they knew about MATLAB and simulation tools and all that. But I was progressing faster and moving on. But at that time, there was no object orientation in LabVIEW. So you had to kind of do it by yourself and learn good practices. And I was not there yet. Really, I was not there yet. So even though I was working on a commercial product of my own, it was still a bit of a mess. And code extensibility, really, I had a lot to learn. And that company had a R&D department where I was, everybody was doing their stuff alone in the lab. So it was probably, every team was the same. A few researchers and one technician that could do the optical work or the instrumentation work. And there was the engineering department that was translating everything we developed into production. And so on the engineering team, there were a few developers, and these guys, knew how to work in a team, and they were trying to instill a sense of, oh yeah, you need source code control. And I was, at that time, I didn't know the benefit of that, and really ashamed to say, and for anyone that is viewing this, please embrace source code control. When I think about these early days, I mean, I was a bit of a jerk saying, oh, no, I'm a lone developer. I don't need that. I zip my code, so I've never had a crash, and that's fine. But really, there are other benefits than just backupping your code. It's really, really useful to work with branches and start up ideas. And anyway, that's for other time, right? And so I was being kind of a jerk and, a loner on my R&D side, pretending, I know best what is good for me, and I should have listened. So that's the thing. Yeah. So now thinking back on that, I mean, I've definitely learned that lesson and moved on. So after that experience with that photonics company, and subsequently with my own company, one of my colleagues was also developing, but he was a PhD in physics, and more developing the algorithmic side and of the equation, and me putting it into the product. But that didn't pan out. I mean, once the photonics industry went boom bust for in 2001. 2002. So I went back to National Research Council for worked with a new team in nanotechnology. It was a new emerging field, and so we were at that time 3 employees, and there was a postdoc, and the group was tiny. And now this is a 35 people group right now. That's been enduring since 2002. So yeah, big thing. I started at the beginning, and that's when I really started to learn about LabVIEW, because I discovered LavaG. Probably around 2003, maybe 2004. I'm not really certain of the dates, but I started to heavily use LavaG and ask questions and chat and discuss and started to post more answers than questions at some point pretty soon. And well, it was a boom that I was in a government job. I had some time to, not trying to do profit and delivery. So there was a bit of time to learn and to participate in exchange on the forums.
Wow, that's really awesome. Like you had been like a pioneer at the research center and everything, and then 35 people, like you said, like the team has been like blown up now to like 35 people. So, and you also like identified the forum like LavaG. So like when was your like a first encounter? So like one of the reasons what I found out is like in the forums a few years ago, like I found out the discussion between why LavaG forum was there. Like what was the difference between the NI forum? So what was the difference you found, and then you got into this one, or you didn't knew about the NI forum, or like it didn't existed at the time? So what was the scenario?
There was an early implementation of the NI forums. We called it the dark side, and
okay,
dark side of the force. In reality, it was more like posturing. But what I found in Lava at that time, at that point in time, was that the level was much higher than the NI forums, and that difference has attenuated greatly in the last decade. But early on, Lava was where the serious people would go, and the NI forums would be where people that were doing their homework would go.
I think one of the customers with like some problem, hiccups, and everything. Rather than more serious with LabVIEW.
No, and this is really, that was just a perception, because when you go into the old forums and you look for Christian Altenbach, for example, quality post and very educational too. So it's very good resource as well. So it's not to say that the NI forums, even back then, it's just that the amount of the signal to noise ratio was not as high, meaning that conversations you could have, you type in and you find people that ask help for their homework, and you have these extremely pointy signal processing or DAC-MX questions or bugs and architecture. But all the more architecture questions and design patterns were coming onto Lava, and there was all these discoveries by, for example, Michael Aveliottius that was deconstructing, the I don't know how he did it, but he found a bunch of private nodes and super secret keys in the INI LabVIEW INI file, and so that exposed like private nodes and scripting, and that's where that discussion was going. And so this resulted in, it was a very active time, I think, for the Lava forums, where it had a huge influence on the direction that LabVIEW was going.
Yeah, that's actually like the point. Like I've also like was following all this, and then I've seen like some of the the YouTube channel of like a Michael Aveliottius as well. And I think like he was these guys were the pioneers, and then every time you go to LavaG forum, you think that like it's like a Marvel or like a DC kind of place, like where you see like all this like super heavyweights of like LabVIEW is there. And then discussing new ideas. I think like that is where NI actually, NI as well as LabVIEW actually evolved. So I think like that was a thing, a special kind of group or something. So like when was the first time you actually met the another guy from another LabVIEW developer, or like someone like who was like a really good, maybe because you were in Canada. So like did you have any opportunity to meet them there, or did you have to come to US?
Oh, there. I don't know if there were any user group meetings in Montreal back then. Uh, I didn't meet anyone. It was really a virtual experience. So Lava was the place, and I heard about those lava barbecues at NIWeek, and saw the photos online, and always Norm Kushner, that was the bouffon there, and being the life of the party, and things like that, and then all the people that hung out in Lava, but that were in the US would just show up at NIWeek. So I wanted so badly to go to NIWeek. And NIWeek, my first days there, it was all about meeting the people from the community, the LabVIEW community, because honestly, the sessions were kind of, it was not extremely technical. It was more like marketing exercise on NI side, which is normal. It's a conference for them, it's to showcase their products and new things. But LabVIEW was getting center attention around those years. What was then? I think that was around 2011, maybe, that I joined the first NIWeek, and that was not very far after introduction of object orientation, and there were these new features and really an evolution in LabVIEW that was that I think made me stick to the language at that time. That could have been, I go and focus more on a different part of my work instead of a computer science part, and yeah, so met the people at the lava barbecue on the first Tuesday after coming in, and wow, that was quite an experience, because there were some people from Europe as well, and some people from Western US and Eastern US, and the melting pot. Some guys from Australia as well were coming. Michael Holmgren and Jonathan Green was chatting with online. So yeah, and meeting those legends like Jim Kring and Michael from the Latin Forum. I mean, that was something.
Yeah, finally meeting everyone in person. That's like actually a awesome experience and everything. Francois, what are the technical things? For example, after getting NI introduced the object-oriented programming in LabVIEW and all these new features, I think you must have found out that now LabVIEW is going to be a more serious kind of programming language, because most of the people, they think that a LabVIEW is just I hired a guy and then this guy is just a drawing in the screen. Sometimes they believe that, and then some people think that LabVIEW is easy. We don't need to learn anything. We just put some of the BIs, everything is over there, and then it just works. What do you think? What is the distinction between people who just takes LabVIEW just for programming, or taking it to the next level, building larger applications? For example, in your case, you were working with very latest kind of technologies, nanotechnologies as well. So what do you think? What is the requirement? What do you think? All the people who are new to LabVIEW or who are experienced enough, what do you think? What should be their approach?
Yeah, well, LabVIEW, when object orientation was introduced, I think became one of those languages where there's a sort of distribution of how people use programming in general, and so some will be able to do script-like applications, very small, very linear, and then grow in complexity, and then suddenly it becomes too big to be able to do anything else. You had something and it's like a house of cards and it just crumbles. And with object orientation, suddenly came design patterns that we could implement that had been tried and true in other languages, and I think that made a big difference for us. Beforehand, it was more like, oh yeah, it's like scripting environment where, oh, you put nodes there and you align them, and yeah, of course they will execute. Anybody can do that. A 3-year-old can do that. Yes. Well, a complex application that needs to be safe, that moves a robot, or that fires a furnace, or that has exhaust gases that could be toxic. I mean, there are safety concerns, and LabVIEW is a language that can really handle everything, just like any other language. So for people that I think there's room for any kind of people in that system. You can come in and just do a task that you automate. It's something that really takes 20 minutes to put a few nodes in, put a while loop around it, and it runs over and over and over. And that's all you need. Well, there's definitely room for that in LabVIEW as well. Now, for people that want to make a career out of it, definitely you've got to learn design patterns and start, good engineering practices. These engineering practices include source code control that we mentioned earlier. They include, unit testing. They include build automation, and all these things are not unique to LabVIEW. That's what I think makes it fun. It means that when you're confronted with, especially nowadays, we have all these different systems that are distributed, and they need to talk to each other, and there's web technologies, and there's phones, and there's IoT devices. There's I've got an embedded controller that I cannot put C, on a small Arduino if I want to do something quick, so to be able to have these concepts that yes, I learned in LabVIEW instead of going to computer science school, but they're relevant anywhere. So whenever I do C++ code, I can apply the things that I learned in LabVIEW, which is weird because normally you would do C++ in school and then learn.
And then use their principles. Use their principles in LabVIEW. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the first design patterns started to appear, and the first frameworks started to appear in LabVIEW. So.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, Francois, can you tell us some of the greatest highlights? I know you started from already from the beginning, like you said, you were already the pioneer and working on the latest technologies from the beginning. But do you have any highlights of your career working in this industry?
Yeah, there have been a few, fortunately for me, because I mean it's it's always an alignment of stars and being a bit lucky about where you go, and one of the first highlights I would say is working on being very present on Lava. I wanted to contribute, and one of the things that was unique about Lava was the code repository. So started contributing to open source code and getting myself involved in there, and I created a tool which it's called UI Tools, and it's very simple, something that helps you just fade in and fade out a front panel, so you can use it to have a nice effect. And that was something that I got from a discussion at NIWeek with Norm Kirshner. He said, that would be great if we could do this, because I do that all the time and I always have to whip it up. So I can sit and put it there, and then expand it with a few other gizmos. And so now it's a small package. And in 2012, so I went back for NIWeek for a second year, or maybe it was a third. I don't remember. And my package was certified silver on the brand new LabVIEW Tools network. So and I back then was trying to push their LabVIEW Tools network. And so I think it was the first year, so they were preparing this whole program of certification and having gold and silver and platinum and all that. So, for example, gold was the OpenG packages. Mine made it to silver status, and there was a small ceremony at that point. So the ceremony in itself was just, you know, a plaque, and I met was it Dr. T or Jeff K? I don't remember. I think it might have been Dr. T that was presenting the plaque. And so I remember vividly. So I was seated there at the table, and there was, to my right, there was Chris Ralph, which is a pioneer on lava. If you look at the number of posts, he's
crazy,
one. Yeah. And great, funny guy. Really, really. If you're sad and he's sitting next to you, you have something. You know, you have a problem. And to my left, there was Michael Holmgren, which is you know, the Open GDS guy that did all this great UML tool that could write code and back and forth, and he was getting a plaque as well. And in front of me was Michael Ivaliotis, that was representing Lava G for the Open G Gold. So I was there at that event that was pretty private actually, but seated with these guys, and I was receiving a plaque at the same time as them. That was really the first time that there was, you know, something that I was really proud of, even if that was very symbolic. It's not like I discovered, you know, a new atom or anything. But yeah, and that had a certain significance, because I probably went to that NIWeek a little bit, you know, anticipating to mingle with the community again. And what happened is that at that point, JKI was hiring. And I got in touch with the JKI folks at NIWeek, and we spent then the next 2 months interviewing. And finally in January I moved to California. So that was kind of a, you know, mix of community involvement that led me in the path of, you know, people that I would be working with for the next 5 years.
Actually, like that is the beauty of, like, you know, community involvement, and then going, presenting, meeting all these people, and like actually, like, everybody speaks the same language, isn't it? And we all speak LabVIEW.
LabVIEW.
So like I know, like, you have been there for like 5 years in the San Francisco Bay at like a JKI. So how's your experience? And then, like, do you still like miss the weather over there? Because I know, like, you're in Canada at the moment.
Yeah, the weather was awesome, really. And the work too, by the way. So yeah, that the JKI experience was definitely another of those highlights in my career. Well, you know, think about it. You join Lava in 2003-ish, and you see all these great open source things, and you see Jim Crane's name everywhere. And then you have OpenG Commander that merges into VI Package Manager, and you discover a way of doing things that, wow, I can reuse my libraries seamlessly, and it's easy. And you look again, oh yeah, that's JKI. Oh, and then I heard about this thing about, you know, VI, well, unit testing. Oh, VI tester. Oh, that's by JKI again. And so, you know, the reputation of the firm obviously precedes themselves. I mean, itself. Sorry, I'm French Canadian, so
no, it's fine.
the words are mingled. And so having, you know, having the opportunity to work with a bunch of LabVIEW champions and CLAs over there. I mean, there was, you know, Jim, obviously, Tommy Maila.
Yeah, Tommy Maila. I know him.
If your viewers don't know him, I mean, he's early on, he was always talking about object orientation, about design patterns, about recursive. I remember learning how to do real recursion in LabVIEW with his blogs on Expression Flow. I'm not sure he keeps that. It's probably online still, but he's not populating any blog posts anymore. But so working with Tommy, Philippe Guéry, who's a Frenchman, and you know, I had a great a great relationship with him. He likes to build frameworks, and he's very organized. His mind is sharp. And, I had met him too at previous NIWeeks, and Omar Musa, who's not with JKI anymore. And that was my mentor when I joined. So Michael Ivaliotis, I mean, the whole floor of people think that there are 30 people at JKI, but no, that was it. That was pretty much it. And at the same time, there was Eric Graham, one of my good friends. Now, when I go to California, I'll always have dinner with him, and Javier Ruiz. So that was it. That was the team, and that team. That team was always about 8 people, and the amount of notoriety of the team. People are wow, only 8? Are you serious? Well, yeah, that's
crazy.
So a very, very good experience, because I went from academia, basically, or government and research, to a pure consulting company, where the bread and butter is going to startups and established companies and make them successful and fast. I mean, the Bay Area is very hectic environment, and so I've not seen that amount of energy per centimeter square, not kilometer square, centimeter square, anywhere else. So and the mentality is work, innovate, and try quickly, fail quickly, and but as a consultant, failing, that's not in our business model. We have to succeed. So the amount of always going around and trying to find a solution. Even if you start in this direction, you might end up there, but the path is really non-linear, and I learned so much around those guys.
Yeah. So Francois, you walked over there, and then now you are back in Canada, and then you started your own farm now, isn't it? So what?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was asking, you came back to your own country back again, and then now you have started your own farm. So what was the learning you took it from there, your experience, and you are working in the a similar kind of industries, or you are taking the consultancy work? What kind of task you are handling at the moment?
Well, when I came back, I decided that I wanted to have my own company, because consulting is something that I really like to do. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to do a little bit more of open source, and maybe do things not necessarily for profit. When you work for someone else, your hours are dedicated to making the company successful, and if the company thinks that tomorrow you should prepare a presentation, that's what you'll do, because you're going to do marketing essentially, and marketing can be fun, especially in a context where marketing is you're going to produce some content for users and you're going to bring notoriety to the firm and to yourself, and so that can be done in the context of the company itself, or it can be done in the open source context. And I wanted to, at that point, to do a little bit more open source, and I needed to find time to do that, obviously. So having my own firm, I could decide if I take a vacation from doing consultant work and do more open source, or mix and match, do it 50-50. And that didn't work really well, because my previous employer at National Research Council, that group that we were 3, and when I left we were about maybe 12, 14. Now it's 30 something, and so it convinced me to go back. So my consulting firm that I established when I arrived in Montreal is still there. I mean, I'm an alliance partner in Montreal, but I'm a awesome. One guy, and I don't take new customers really. I just maintain my customer base, and because I went back to National Research Council to work full time, so it's kind of a balancing act right now, where my whole week is dedicated to an employer that pays for me, and then I've got my evenings and weekends to work on my company, which
it is really nice.
It's possible just because my wife is very comprehensive and I don't have kids. So otherwise, it would be completely impossible.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So like, I think you are back in like, I think you became the LabVIEW champion when you were in like US, is it, or?
No, LabVIEW champion, I always assumed that it was by referral only, that LabVIEW champions needed to do a council once a year and propose people to join the group. And so I didn't know that you had to apply for that. So there are people out there that think, hey, I should be on that list. I see all these great names, but my name should be there, right? Well, you go there and you apply for it. So I applied, I think, last year at NIWeek. So I was chatting with Fabiola and I think, well, there were 2-3 other people around there, and they were saying, wait a minute, you're not the champion? So, no, never applied. I just realized I had to.
Yeah, that is what I have also like bit confused, because like you have been in the industry for a long time, you have contributed to the community, and you're already a champion, like in terms of like the contribution you are doing, and then the current projects you are handling at the moment. So that was my concern. And then like, are you also like planning to start the like a lab user group in Canada, or still like in the process?
Well, yes, absolutely. I've got my good friends at Neosoft. They're another alliance partner here in Montreal, and they're a larger company, a serious company, not like my own consultancy. And so we got together and we're gonna announce probably this week the date for the resurrection of the Quebec user group meeting, LabVIEW user group. So that should be early May, just before NIWeek. We want to have a few presentations there, and then we're gonna head off to NIWeek and come back very motivated to do a second one to talk about what we learned at NIWeek. And so we hope to recreate the tradition of user group meetings. It's probably been
years,
10, 15 years, maybe not 15, but yeah, at least 10 years since these groups disappeared. So
I know. Like now like a Francois is back as a like a LabVIEW champion in like a Canada. So like it's going to the revival as well. So Francois, like I think so like you go ahead. Yeah, you wanted to say something.
I wanted to give a shout out to Mathias Baudot as well in Quebec, because for the past CLA Summit and NIWeeks, we discussed about having the user group meetings restarted, and we just never got the time to get together with our busy schedules. And he lives in Quebec. That's about 2 hours 30 minutes drive from Montreal. It's not that far, but distance being what it is, and so we've. It was also his idea that kept me motivated to go ahead and with the help of Neosoft and their contacts with NI, that's going to be a reality. So
I think like at the moment, like Canada and like the LabVIEW user group actually needs like a leadership like you at the moment. So like we appreciate that. Like I think you will also like live up to the expectation of the new LabVIEW developers, or like maybe people who are living in the shadows. Okay, like they have been using LabVIEW for a long time but do not know like how to come forward. Express like their like challenges as well as aspirations and everything. I know like we're running out of time as we pre-scheduled. So like what do you want to say to the viewers as well as the new LabVIEW developers, or anyone like any information or like any kind of say you want to give to motivate them?
I would say don't be shy to get involved. it doesn't look like it, but even attending a user group meeting or just asking question, I consider it as continuous education. And in our modern day, where work life and personal life kind of mingle a little bit around the edges, and it's I think it's important to take every little opportunity to keep ourselves up to date, because that means that instead of having to do a big push once in a while and it's stressful, you can just do it bit by bit. And for me, continuous education goes from watching YouTube videos like the ones that you produce, Ram. It goes, just having a beer and pizza and talking about LabVIEW, or hearing someone talk about a topic that, oh yeah, I know about that, but I want to see someone else's perspective. All these exchanges, on the forums. One thing that I've seen on Lava, for example, is I like to present myself as who I am and not an avatar, because for me it's a professional network. A little bit like you would say LinkedIn, you put your real name and your real resume there. Well, on Lava and the NI forums, it's me. It's Francois Normandin, and I don't shy away from that. I will be serious. I will be attentive to details when I answer. I will be polite. I will be this is a community, and that community, even though it's virtual, it's really human beings that you're dealing with, and at the base, that's what makes this community, I think, dear to
thrive and breathe, and then you can trust, and then you can actually respect the person, you actually know who you are talking with as well, because most of the people are only using tags and everything.
Yeah.
So Francois, do you have any other things to say, or that is it for today?
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, Ram. It's been a while. I was looking, at your progress and your sense. You're really bringing, opening a new market for NI. You should know that India is a huge market, and it's a lot of brilliant people, brilliant engineers. When I look at I've got some anecdotes that came back to me while I was saying what I was about to say, and I remember being at the Engineering Impact Award at NIWeek 2015, I think, and where I was with JKI back then, and I remember seeing the candidates online. There was a guy from India that had built a whole power grid in his village, all with LabVIEW and power equipments, and it was solar panels and wind turbines and distribution. And wow, this is amazing. There's so much innovation, so many people that can do so much with LabVIEW. And so I think India is a force to reckon with LabVIEW, and I'm super excited to see the amount of new developers that come out every day and that start to get involved in the community. So continue the good work. And another anecdote too about that Engineering Impact Award. Well, we were seated at the same table that year. JKI won 2 awards, and for a project, and we were seated with Chris Roebuck at our table.
Wow, Chris Roebuck! Wow.
Oh yeah, he was there, and I was like, "Oh, Chris, what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm going to be presenting the community award, And oh, that's great. And we were nominated in the energy category, and we won that category. And then Chris Roebuck goes on the stage and starts talking about community, blah, 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 blah. And I learned from, using OpenG tools and Lava and all that. And then he says, well, the winner for the Community Choice Award is JKI. And so we were, wait a minute. didn't know that would happen. So yeah, that was funny because last week you interviewed Chris, and I remember that. I was,
yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, very small world and everything. Yeah. So like Francois, like thank you very much for your time. Like indeed, me as well as the entire team, and then the viewers and then the audience, like who are the new users or the experienced user, like they have got the opportunity to learn your like entire journey from like starting from the your research center, and then like traveling to the US, working with like some of the heavyweights in the industry, and then like also contributing to the LabVIEW, and then like you also become the LabVIEW champion. I think like that was pending for a long time. I think like as a like a LabVIEW champions meeting, like we also need to keep our like eyes open and then see like who is the worthy person as well, because many people are unaware, just like you, like whose contribution is like a pending, and then we have to feel gratitude. I think like that is a good thing, because like I said, like I also want to congratulate you, like going back to the Canada, and then going after like what actually makes you alive. And then now you have also said that now you are going to revive the lab user group. As you know, like we also have started the Indian lab user group. It's a large country that. And then like Chris himself like was able to present this meeting like a few months ago. So it was like a great thing, and it actually like inspired everyone, and then we can actually reach to our goals much more faster this way, rather than rather than being in like a more competitive mode. If we become like a cooperative, and then like you said, like what JKI, and then when you were working over there, how the like BI package manager has like pushed the the boundary of the LabVIEW, and then all these kind of things we have seen. So like in the ending note, like would you like to say like what could be the future of LabVIEW? Just like a few sentence one. Yeah, I know like we're running out of time, but
it's okay. Few sentences on LabVIEW. You know what? I'm still waiting for NXG to be to meet my expectations. My expectations are high for it, and I'm really happy to see companies like VI Technologies, for example, in Netherlands, that they're pushing the UML editor, where you can create your classes in the UML and it generates the code, and vice versa, in a very modern way. And that will bring LabVIEW to the next level for using it with design patterns and frameworks. But it's not complete yet. So if NI is watching, I mean, we need feature-rich and fully featured LabVIEW experience. Otherwise, we'll stick to classic. And
yeah, certainly. Like I'll like forward this video to like the folks I know from NI. So I think like they will be watching this. So like you need to take this feedback from like a Francois Normandin. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Francois Normandin, for like taking your time out. I think you woke up early today for the coffee, and like this is like an evening in like India. So like I wish you like very much success to like whatever you are doing, and have a good day. So like yeah, thank you very much for giving your
likewise, Ram. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for the great time. Bye bye.